Hello and welcome to the Film Vomit Podcast, an extension of the Vomit series of podcasts. As always with this podcast, we're your hosts, Mac Taylor and Cole Selby, and today we're here to talk about PG Psycho Goreman from 2020. Cole, what were your thoughts going in and like expectations versus like what happened?
At first I was expecting a movie that was going to that took itself so seriously that's what made it funny. But I
Nope.
kind of got a movie that tried really hard to be funny. And I don't know how much I don't know how much I like that.
I mean, I think there were points where it hits pretty well, and then I like you said earlier, I kind of agree with like there are some points where it doesn't quite succeed. Better than nothing.
Yeah, better than nothing.
But yeah, I think there are points where the movie is rather funny, and then I think there are points where it has a little too much fun with itself.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, the movie was okay. But we'll talk about the details. We'll dive right in. We start off with a classic space tale of good versus evil, although the sides are going to get switched throughout the movie because our main character is a quote unquote villain.
Yeah.
And then we see a game of crazy ball between Mimi and her brother Luke. Mimi is going to be our main character, and there are points where she is really just a horrible person.
Yeah. Very.
You all like I felt so bad for Luke throughout a majority of this movie.
Yeah, same.
And the due to losing Crazy Ball, Mimi wants to bury Luke alive. And he's totally okay with these terms and conditions.
Yeah, they just and she just they just get to stay outside all day and dig a hole.
Yeah, a big asshole.
Not checked on or
yeah, but we'll see though. Greg is a
like
terrible
inspected
father.
At all.
Like they have terrible parents. So
yeah, they do.
And they find the grave of PG Psycho Goreman. And Mimi takes like a gem from the grave, which was lucky that she did later.
With a very ex like an ex machina moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just gonna it's just it's protected by a fucking code lock. I'm just gonna randomly hit it and then get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as the people in space say, the code is so complex, only a genius could solve it. But it's kind of like the puzzle cube in Hellraiser. It's supposed to be like this complicated thing, yet it seems like everybody just kind of like quickly just fidgets with it and it works. So I wonder if that's kind of making fun of that in a way. Maybe. I mean, again, this is a comedy movie, so I'm sure it was played up for laughs. And then they ask their parents about monsters, and Greg tells them humans are the real monsters. And Mimi's just a real asshole about this. She tells her parents, like, you're dismissed. And I was like, oh, if I told that to my mom, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be podcast. I'd be dead.
Like, I don't like the parents at all. I don't like them. I don't like their characters very much either.
No.
They kind of just like,
particularly the mom. She has like nothing to do really. Like Greg gets some of the comedy moments, and she really didn't get a whole lot. And then they're knocking in Morse code. And talking about their grandmas in hell. And then we cut to some robbers who encounter Psycho Goreman, who decapitates two of them. And the gore in this movie is really well made. It's a lot of fun.
Every time we get to see like a fight scene or a gore scene or anything,
very good.
Every bit of it's awesome, and those are the points where I loved watching the movie and enjoyed it.
Yeah, like he like pulls their heads off, and it's like got all that like gritty, gory goodness.
Mm-hmm. And every time he's like talking to him and like talking down to him, he's always like
Psycho Goreman is the best character in this movie.
Yeah, he's great. Like let him talk more.
Your human fleshy forms are nothing. Give it a couple millennia.
Me.
Yeah, like give it a couple of millennia, and you may be worth a challenge.
Yeah, and then
he turns one guy into art.
Yeah, the third guy, like once we get the kill, it's like he's like eternally suffering or something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and
Yep.
it's pretty cool looking. Like when
Yeah.
we see him
Again, great gore.
Mhm.
Uh, and when we see the dad in the morning, they find this giant hole in the yard,
Yeah,
and the dad's like, "Must have been raccoons." I'm like, "What fucking raccoons do you know that do this?"
see the raccoon or he said like some dude on like a bender who like
Yeah,
couldn't
he
do
said a
anything, just fell
wino.
in the hole,
Like,
fell in the
again,
hole. Like that's pretty out there too.
also, that should be way more alarming than you're making it sound. There's a stranger just running through your backyard.
Gosh.
Uh, then Greg fakes an injury to get out of digging this hole back.
Mhm.
Because he's just a real lazy dude.
Yeah.
And then we meet Alistair, who Mimi really crushes on, and he just wants to game. He just wants to hang out with his bro. I feel really bad for Alistair in this movie.
I do too.
Like, he's just trying to just be a bro, and she sexually harasses him at one point.
She's such a bitch, dog.
She's such a horrible person.
Such a bitch.
Although I will say the actress that plays her, this is a great job. Like, everyone in this movie does well with what they have.
It's hard to find good child actors, like actually good child
but
actors.
Like, both of these kids did a fine job.
Yeah.
And the girl who plays Mimi, this is her first movie, and I think she'll have a career ahead of her.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out for the people listening. This has nothing to do with the actress, all to do with we're supposed to not like her character. We're supposed to think she's a bitch, and she is. So the actress did a great job.
I'm completely okay with calling children a child a bitch.
Goddamn right. If you get nothing else from this podcast, that's what you get. So they snoop around at night, which is like, these kids have no survival instincts.
They have no supervision either.
That's also true.
Just go to a fucking warehouse in the middle of the night. Yeah.
And they find Psycho Goreman, who tries to kill them, but Mimi has the gem, so he must do whatever she says. Mm-hmm. And so she tells him to be quiet, and he can't talk. And she makes him like explain like what the gem is and everything. And while he's having this conversation, he talks about like, this guy's in internal pain and he'll forever. And then as he's doing it, Luke knocks it over and the guy just smashes into the ground. And he's like, no, my masterpiece. Like, really, this whole movie just feels like the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy in live action.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting concept. But yeah, I just love how he's like in mid-speech as like Luke just kind of stumbles backwards.
Yeah, fucking destroys.
Just smashes into the ground. And then he says, what is his actual name? It's like the something of nightmares or something.
Like
Archduke of Nightmares or something.
Like that. And
instead they just call him Psycho Goreman.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not going to let you name me. And she's like, yes, you are. And then he's like, damn it. And then they're like, and you're going to wait here overnight for us. And he's just like sits down all mad as they walk away. She does that whole like, bye thing. And I'm like, oh, I would strangle her too, Psycho Goreman. I understand your pain. Yeah. So yeah, they make him wait overnight. And then in space, we meet the Templar, who prepares to try to kill Psycho Goreman. And she's basically the Templars are like big religious nuts.
Yeah.
And this one guy's like, oh yeah, you and your God. And then she chokes him for not believing in the gods. Also, again, really good creature effects too. I like really good stuff here.
Yeah, I like the puppetry and stuff. Mm-hmm. That was really cool.
Really cool stuff.
Really good costumes.
So Mimi and Luke then bring Alistair to see Psycho Goreman. And they bring him TV and hunky boy magazines. And he's like, I don't like hunky boys. And then he looks at it for a second. He's like, or maybe I do. That fucking got me when I heard that the first time. So yeah, they just kind of basically come to like fuck with him,
I guess.
And they're like, tell me your story. And he goes into this big elaborate story. And like, it was funny because during the middle of it, like Mimi like spits candy on the floor. She's like, oh, that tasted terrible. Anyway, continue with the story. But basically, he was a slave to the Templars, who found the gem, which invigorated his power, and he slaughtered all of the Templars he could find, and then started to enslave the galaxy until he was stopped by a Pandora, who is the Templar after him now.
Which is like kind of weird because like he got enslaved and then he killed them, like which makes sense. It makes you think like, oh, he's a cool guy, and then he's like,
they took it one step further.
Yeah, it's like then I wanted to kill everyone.
And then in this montage too, like there's some great gore stuff.
Yeah, there is. It's like, yeah, I killed all these people who were killing me, and then I was like, hey, this actually does feel pretty nice. I get it now, guys. I'm gonna go do the exact same thing you were doing.
Yeah,
kill everybody.
So he tells this elaborate story, and like, yep, that was a terrible story, and then they just leave him there. And then
you must feel like, what the fuck?
Like, what you asked me for the story. So then he uses the TV, which starts like dripping blood, to call his minions to try to get the gem from Mimi, which we'll see them later. Yeah. But yeah, he uses the TV to call them, which is an interesting scene.
Yeah, a little bit.
The bleeding box TV.
I wonder if that's like a reference to something. I just don't know.
I don't know. I there wasn't a whole lot of trivia, so I didn't really get a whole. I mean, this movie is new, so because I remember when this came out, all the buzz about it. So then they're at dinner, and Mimi's like trying to get Alistair to like hang out with her. And he just wants to go play video games with the boys. Like he's just trying to hang. He's like 8. Leave him alone.
Yeah, like how old are these kids? Actually?
I don't know. I think they might be like 12.
They go to the same school too.
Yeah.
Another thing. So they shouldn't be too far away from each other in age.
Yeah, I think they're probably like 11, 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But so the boys are playing video games and talking about pubes getting sold to a kid, which just reminded me of a South Park reference.
Maybe it was.
It could have been. And like the dad microwaved chicken for dinner. That's not safe.
That's what I was wondering what the fuck that was.
And the dad like acts like he's in Iraq, and she's like, he's never been in a war. And I'm like, what is Greg's character?
He's just, I think they're trying really hard to make sure that we know that he's
a piece of shit,
and he makes any excuse to do that, and that he's an asshole or something like.
So because Alistair won't play with her, Mimi summons Psycho Goreman to the house. And she's like, you're late. And he's like, I don't stoop so low as to your construct of time. And also I got lost. So good. So good. And she asks him to help her seduce Alistair, which again, he's just a boy.
Yeah.
But instead, he turns him into a giant brain thing.
Like,
and never gets turned back, even though she totally could make him turn him back.
Yeah.
So yeah, poor Alistair is now just a giant brain.
Yeah, giant brain blob thing.
Which again makes me think of Billy and Mandy because of the whole evil Con Carne thing. Maybe this is one giant reference.
Jesus.
So the parents discover PG, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And they're freaking out. And then she's like, "No, he won't kill you." And he's like, "Yes, I will. I will kill you." She's like, "No, he won't." He's like, "I will. Don't you listen to her. I will totally kill you." So good. And then we get a giant montage. First, that they have a garage band.
Yeah.
And they sing the song "Heckin' Best," which will come into play later.
Yeah, great.
Then we get the montage of him walking dogs, teaching her karate, blowing up a douchey kid, playing dress up. You know, fun stuff. The things you would do. As Greg goes to eat the bake sale cookies, a giant hand comes out and attacks him. Pretty good stuff here. And then we see PG eat, which is very disturbing.
Yeah, it is. Like his whole like chest opens up like a
Yeah.
mouth.
It's kind of like he kind of looks like Jeepers Creepers a little bit, but like with like a snake's mouth.
Yeah.
And Mimi just like takes Luke's fries. And
Yeah.
I'm like, just leave this be. He's just trying to exist. Leave him alone. He's living his life.
For real.
And then PG goes to Luke's nightmares to try to get him to take the gem. And he's just like, no. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, what do we do now? And he's like, we gotta wait for this nightmare to be over. And so they're just sitting there in silence.
Yeah, with like zombies crawling around.
Yeah.
They're just like writhing on the ground.
Yeah, and they're just sitting there. Oh, that was good. Great stuff. So Mimi's trying to teach PG and Alistair Crazy Ball because she likes to teach everyone this game, this very overly complicated game.
Yeah.
And for some reason, PG's dressed like Alan Grant from Jurassic Park. Like this looks like the exact costume from Jurassic Park. And I couldn't stop laughing at it.
Probably on purpose, you know.
So then these cops arrive because, you know, there's this giant space guy walking around, and he turns one cop into a melty zombie. Mm-hmm. And then the other one just runs away.
Yep.
And now the melty zombie joins their crew for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which apparently this is a reference to the director's other movie, BioCop.
BioCop? That
this melty zombie is the titular BioCop. So same actor too. But the joke here is that it keeps trying to kill itself. Deep. Like it constantly wants to die. Which I found very funny. Like the Valentine that says "Please kill me."
Yeah. I like when he shoots himself.
Yeah, in the neck.
What the fuck? He's like, what the fuck?
He's constantly just firing his gun.
Yeah.
So good. And Alistair's upset that he'll never be a real boy again. Which that could be a whole nother movie. Alistair's quest to become a real boy.
Mimi just tells him to fucking deal with it too.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck you. You're the one that did this.
She's like, yeah, you'll never be normal again, but it's okay. It's like, it's not about what you want, Mimi.
Yeah.
And he's fucking cool with it for some reason. Somehow.
And then we meet the old crew of Psycho Goreman. Meat Grinder, the Robo guy, I think he's called Cassius 3000, Witch Doctor, and then the main guy with the crown. And the cop's still trying to kill itself.
Yeah.
Then there's talks also about like love, about like what love means, and they never hit it on the nose. I didn't really care for that either. So PG's like, go ahead and kill this girl, and they're like, nope. We like you not being in charge of us.
Yeah.
And so then they proceed to beat the shit out of Psycho Goreman, and Mimi refuses to let him kill them unless he apologizes, which I did find funny. And so he does. And then meanwhile, the Templar takes the cops' memories to try to find out where Psycho Goreman is.
I bet he died.
Probably. I think this probably killed him. We saw earlier when she assimilated the human, she did crush her and smear her blood across her face.
Yeah. Like she fucking took a human, slapped her into a little cube, and then
smashed her.
Slathered it on herself. Weird.
So once he gets his powers, he explodes with anger. He drains Meat Grinder, like smashes the thing and draining it.
Yeah.
The Witch Doctor basically decapitates it, like the head falls out of the body.
Yeah, which we get a pretty cool thing with like his head like ripping off his body, but then
he
shoves it back on himself.
And then he kills her. I don't really know genders here. They're aliens. It's kind of hard to tell.
Aliens.
And then there's like this grave. The guy's like threw tombstones. Like takes the rose out of him, and that kills him.
Yeah.
And then he puts Cassius 3000 on the ground in this pool, and he's like, see the reflection? It's you. You're the real villain. It's inside you. And then a hand comes up and rips his face off. I thought that was really funny.
It's like, I understand. Good. Clap. Which that looked really cool.
Very good effects. The melty cop gets the witch doctor's pole through his eyes, and that just melts him for some reason.
Yeah. He like wheezes as he like deflates.
Mm-hmm. And then he tells the main guy, "I will give you a warrior's death," which means he eats you.
He's like, no, please don't. I don't
Yep.
want to
And then he
get
eats
eaten.
him and blood just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And the kids are totally fine with this. They're eating like snacks whilst watching this guy get devoured.
Yeah.
But PG was injured in the fight,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to get him the gem in order to save his life. And so there's this funny scene because Greg and Susan get into a fight about how lazy he is, and he goes to the bathroom, and like this PG's head comes to the wall, and he's like, "You need to come and save us right now." And he's like, "Oh God, where are you?" It's like, "Oh, we're over here by this spot." And then he's like, "Oh, how do I get there?"
Yeah. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was pretty funny like the first time, and then a little bit the second.
It got progressively less funny, but the first time was great. He was like freaking out because his head came through the wall. Pretty solid stuff.
Yeah.
Solid comedy.
Which I don't know. I don't like that super like sudden tonal shift they tried to do with that scene. I hated that. It's like, why are you fucking doing this?
So Greg comes to help them in the truck. Then they put PG in the back with the wagon full of balls. That made me laugh. And like, "Oh, could you move over for this wagon?"
God.
He's just stuck in the back of a truck. So funny. And then Susan's with the Templar when they arrive, who wants them to hand over Psycho Goreman. And she just tells Luke, "Go fight her." And he's like, "But I'll die." And she's like, "Yeah, that's a risk I'm willing to take."
Yeah.
He's like, "Fine, fuck you. I'm going to go over here."
Yeah.
And I understand. I completely sympathize with Luke the entire time.
I mean, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy.
So Greg and Mimi speed off.
Yeah. He has his weird lines like, "How's this for lazy?"
And he says "lazy Susan," which is a fucking like chair. So like every time he says it, I'm like the chair? Is this supposed to be a joke?
Like you can just stop, man.
So then PG needs the gem to save his life. And Mimi has this moment where you think she's praying, but then she just tells God how awesome she is. But then she finds out Luke stole the gem. And Greg has this weird pep talk about how he wasn't molested.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, someone went invited me into their van, and then they showed me some really cool stuff. And it's like,
he asked me if I wanted to see his baseball cards, and I foolishly accepted. And then he took me into his van and showed me his wide variety of baseball cards.
It's like maybe you should trust your weird stranger.
It's like, no, Greg, that's the opposite of what you're supposed to tell children.
Like, I honestly don't think someone could be that stupid.
So everyone shows up, and Susan's been turned into a Templar and tries to kill Greg.
Yay.
And then they decide that the game for the gem will be Crazy Ball. And of course, Mimi wins because it's her fucking game that she invented.
Yeah. Like, even if she didn't win, she probably would have changed the rules.
Yeah.
Because it's her game. And
then Greg high-fives PG and breaks his wrist, which was a terrible idea. And the brother's like, "You're a monster. I hate you." And I'm like, "And you should. She's terrible." And then she sings this frig off song, and it makes everything okay all of a sudden. So PG's given the gem and takes pieces of the Templar and makes a sword. That was fucking dope.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then decides he's going to give her a warrior's death. And they all leave as he eats her. Pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah.
And then they say goodbye, and he goes off and to rule the galaxy. And then the other galactic brown nosers are trying to kill themselves because they know he's coming for them next.
Yeah.
And that's Psycho Goreman.
Yep.
So we have a couple of fun facts before we give our final thoughts here. Not a super long podcast, but Yeah. So the actor who played Psycho Goreman, he had to be the first one on set and the last one to leave because it took so long to apply and take off his makeup. And in fact, when he showed up without makeup, he usually had security called on him because they didn't recognize him.
That's great.
Because he wasn't in makeup. but he really kills this role.
Yeah.
A lot of fun here. And the Gygax Galaxy is a reference to the last name of the creator of
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, Gory Gygax.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. I thought it was pretty neat.
And Pandora's actress is also Alistair's mom in the end credit scene where he's eating dinner. It's a little fun fact there. And the director, Steven Kostanski, also directed Leprechaun Returns recently. So, he's a horror guy. So, yeah, Psycho Goreman. Cole, give me your overall thoughts, opinions, of where this ranks on a 1 to 10 scale.
The effects are great. Like, everything is, actual, like, there's no effects really to be seen. There's hardly any effects to be seen, like computer effects, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Everything always looks really nice. The costumes are really cool. I loved all the costumes and the puppets that they had for like some of the council members. I thought that was those were pretty fucking neat. Some of the jokes landed for me. Most of the time I was staring at the screen and just kind of like sinking back in my seat a little bit. And I had to take a break in the middle of the movie. It was right after the musical sequence. I paused it and I said, I have to take a break from this shit. I can't do this. And and it's not like the movie wasn't funny in some parts. It's that I feel like it was trying a little too hard to be funny sometimes.
Having a bit too much fun with itself.
Yeah, just a little bit. A little unrealistic to me, which doesn't really matter, honestly, to this kind of movie. I think I'd give it like a 4.5.
Ooh, low score from Cole.
Low.
Yeah, there are parts of this movie I really dig. Particularly, I think if this was just a movie about Psycho Goreman in space, I would really dig it.
Yeah.
But I understand that the comedy comes from this like small girl lording over him.
Yeah.
But I think there's times where they just they give her no redeeming value ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I expect you to kind of
feel something even though there's nothing there. Yeah. But I mean the practical effects are amazing. Like I said, no one doesn't deliver on what they have to work with. It's just that some characters don't have a lot to work with. So I think on an overall, like this movie was fine, but I was a little let down by the hype that surrounded it. And partially that's my bad for, when you listen to the hype, it's probably never quite going to reach what that is. Yeah. If I went in completely dry, probably would have enjoyed it more. But I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10 because I think this is a lot better than like the average flick because it's unique and it's interesting and like I'll probably watch this again at some point, but it's not something I say like you must see. So yeah, that's Psycho Goreman. Next time we'll be discussing Summer of '84, which I'm very excited to talk about on the podcast because it's a movie I did go in dry and did enjoy. And I'm excited to see your thoughts and opinions on that because one, it's summertime, so this is going to work out perfectly. Yeah. And two, it's an actual like thriller film. It's not, we're changing tones again. Yeah. As we continue on our July schedule. So again, if you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, bell notifications, all that stuff. Comment down below. If you're listening anywhere else, first of all, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, stay safe and stay nerdy.